Hello and welcome back. Welcome to this reading. We're just going to jump right in because I understand that if this reading is for you, you are experiencing a lot of disruption right now, a lot of unexpected disruption. Maybe you could have seen this coming, but right now, the overall energy that we have is a great deal of mental conflict. Excuse me, a lot of having to either defend yourself, defend your position. You're kind of being asked to stand up right now, stand up for yourself, and that will look different given the situation. But ultimately, this all of this that you are experiencing right now, and I know it doesn't feel like it because we're going to get into quite a bit with this reading, but I want you just to know that all of this is not for nothing. This is clearing the space for you to step into a kind of power that you have been perhaps fantasizing about, is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing someone that has a very clear vision of the kind of person that they want to be, and you're well on your way to that. Right now, you are being asked to embody an even greater sense of that version of yourself, and you are having to put it into action. You are being presented with, I'm going to call it an opportunity, although I'm not sure that you would maybe call it that. Whatever, I think you see it more as conflict, honestly. This conflict is an opportunity for you to embody this greater version of yourself. Eights are very prominent, so a lot to do with the self. Let's get into it. In the present moment, you are represented with conflict. We have the Five of Wands out. I hope that you are not physically engaging in altercations. This feels, the more physical aspect of this, strangely enough, feels like a battle with the self, even though that tends to be mental, but maybe like physically your body feels like it's fighting you in certain ways because there are other things going on that is not allowing the body to be at rest. um the body is very very quickly picks up on these types of energies, even if at times consciously you are not aware of them. In the challenge position, I'm seeing work is a great source of this kind of conflicting energy, this very heavy energy. We have the Eight of Pentacles with the Eight of Swords out, which is telling me a lot of mental energy is being drained around work. I'm even getting that just a lot of things feel like work right now. You might not have a very clear break between work and just your life outside of it, or things are bleeding over. It- all around work is a source of stress right now. It may not feel like things are necessarily going your way either, when it comes to work. I do want to be very clear that this is not, how can I phrase this? There are adjustments that can be made, right, that can free up some mental real estate, is how I'm going to word it. Some mental real estate around your work. I think that you are carrying a lot of burdens that are not yours to carry, because in the subconscious influence, it's all about burdens. It's all about lack of expression. It's all about not speaking up for yourself when you need to. It's about not advocating for yourself. There are people in your sphere right now that have the capacity to help you and want to help you, but they need to know that you need help. And even if you aren't sure what kind of help you need, these are people that are willing to work with you and see where they can fill in certain gaps. Okay. Um, on the your conscious mind, right, conscious goal right now, we do have the world reversed, so you could really, I'm getting a general sense of like whatever has been happening, and this really feels like over this past year it's maybe been emphasized. Like I'm seeing another magnifying glass and someone, like it's zooming in where we need to zoom out. um it feels like things are just constantly getting in your way. It feels like even when you plan something, something else arises that is just outside of your control. And when I was tuning into this energy, it's interesting because I picked up on a theme of like agency, and autonomy, and really needing to reorient a view of like life happening to you versus you choosing to act you know what I mean, and pursue the life that you want to see. Um, you might be involved in a kind of spiritual practice where you kind of will set a very broad intention and think, well, if whatever is meant to happen, like surely it'll just come my way. And that is, it's great. At the same time, there needs to be, I think, a little bit more direction and a little bit of a sharpening, like a clearer cut. What do you want for yourself? And those things can be general. You can say that you want, fulfillment. You can say that and maybe you aren't exactly clear and you're open to being exposed to new ways that will be more fulfilling than what you can imagine right now, or what you can, dream up right now. And that's fine. But we need to move with a little bit more intention, and need to be clear on what we want, so that when things come about that aren't what we want, or that don't check all of the boxes, we can stay clear of that, right? Because I feel like a theme is kind of like when things happen, you are kind of swept away in it. And then we have to do a lot of work to like paddle back to shore. And that's not where you want to be. And so you're exhausted then, but you're back at square one because we've been swept away and just have, we have some other things to clear up now instead of kind of walking the path that we were meant to walk. In the past influence, again, I'm seeing like, I think this is giving avoidance to me. This is giving that someone that believes that just time will heal all wounds kind of thing, where there wasn't actually any mending happening. There was no care of the wound. So the wound, was festering. Instead, it got infected, and now we're looking under like our sleeve and we're like, oh shit, there's things to deal with. Time actually made it worse because I didn't address it. I ignored it this entire time. And this would have been a very painful ending. This is like, and I also am sensing it's like it was kind of a, almost like there was an ending or something was meant to end, but there wasn't a clear ending. Like there was something that was left open in a way. Um I want to pull just one more on that actually. I just want to get a little bit more clarity on what this is here. Okay. So this is honestly giving that whatever it is that was supposed to end, and like these loose ends are still all about, it's I think you were wanting to move on from this ending immediately because you felt like it was what was getting in the way of a new idea, of a new creation, but it was like you didn't finish cleaning it. And the imagery that I'm getting is like if you are cooking and you have, you're using a skillet or whatever, and you burnt whatever you were cooking in that skillet, instead of throwing that burnt food away and then cleaning the skillet so that you could cook something else, you just threw something else on top of the burnt food in the skillet and are now wondering why like the new food tastes burnt even though it's not burnt food. You know what I mean? Like you needed to clean up first. And I don't think you gave yourself the time to do that necessarily. Moving forward, there are going to be some things that you are going to realize can't come along with you. I think there's also going to be a sorting out of these kinds of emotions, of things where you feel, things have been lost, things that regrets I'm getting most strongly here. At the other side of this sorting, I will say, comes like a reignition of a kind of passion. I think a lot of what you are doing right now has been, all of this feels like autopilot. It feels like, again, a kind of, um, I don't want to say refusal, but but an avoidance to kind of look under the hood because there's fear of what has been stirring under there, what's been rattling around that you've been hearing but not necessarily addressing. Something about this experience that you are having, though, is going to remind you so strongly of what it is that you want to create that's over here in this past that you really like you're wanting to do, but again, is just we need to kind of clear house first. In one way or another, what you are experiencing is reminding you of why you kind of got into what it is that you're doing, and in some way is really going to stir that passion up again. In your current environment, things are, I'm seeing some um, loops playing out, and I'm specifically talking about, okay, here we go. So this is when I was talking earlier about how you're being called to embody more of, a higher version of yourself, whatever vision you have for yourself. This is what this is getting at. This environment, this environmental factor, whatever is happening here, there's something in your environment that is being brought to justice. This is like a kind of balancing of the scales, and it is asking you to take the higher road right now. I think right now, whatever is happening, it is demanding such strength, and I'm even getting like integrity, and I think that is something that you want to embody more. And it's like I'm hearing that it's more related to you than necessarily what is actually going on in your environment, right? The world is a mirror. How would someone with integrity act? How would someone, and the real emphasis that I'm getting is like, but you need to be considering yourself. I think oftentimes when you are like trying to, it's weird because I'm hearing like character build, like when you are thinking like your character is being tested, it's often through the lens of like, okay, how am I going to not hurt this person? How am I going to make sure that I'm not, I don't know, being some kind of monster? But it's like there's a line that I think needs to be walked that I don't think you have necessarily been walking. I think you have been more willing to kind of spare someone else's feelings, but it has not been allowing you to express yourself. And again, there's a fine balance between being able to stand up for yourself and not allowing others to kind of push you around in a way, but also not being so moved by others' thoughts and feelings towards you that it makes you act out of character. Does that make sense? You are free, and I really do suggest that we pick not just our battles, but like even conversations. You do not have to engage with people that lack the capacity and lack even the desire to see you for who you are. But again, and this is a balance that everyone has to strike. Do you feel that you are doing yourself justice? Do you feel that, and the way that in my personal life, I'm stepping outside of the reading, this is just me, for me, the way I kind of try to deal with these types of scenarios are when I go to tell my best friend about what happened when someone was trying to get over on me, what do I want to be able to say in that story that is not like fabricated? What would I want to say when I go back and not feel ashamed of being like, yeah, and I kind of let them roll all over me? What would I say, and so that I'm also not like thinking or sounding like I'm the kind of instigator in that moment. You know what I mean? Where is the line where when I have to tell this story to someone, or if someone was to know, that I would still feel secure and I would still feel good about what I did? Do you know what I mean? That may not work for you. That's kind of how I try to navigate those kinds of difficult situations when I'm like, you're really pushing it right now, because there's, sometimes people let themselves be pushed too far and they act in a way that they later regret. And that's just a reality of being human, and sometimes letting the emotion get to us. Um, a secret power of yours that I don't think that you are necessarily aware of that will help you through this is that you are so, I think you're more of, and I'm going to have to explain this. You're more solid than you think you are. You're more of like a force, like a force to be reckoned with than you give yourself credit. You are someone that people look to as a leader. You are someone that people go to for help. You are someone whose opinions and knowledge people greatly revere and really respect. I think whatever the situation is has kind of got you way out of that energy where the confusion and the kind of conflict and like the feeling, I'm even like getting, maybe you're feeling kind of small, and you know what I mean? Feeling like you're being pushed and moved around. You are a creator, literally. You can create whatever reality you want. And I know there are so many spiritualists out there right now that are pushing how to manifest. And I think that you do that just fine. Like, you can make things happen in your life, and that's fine. I think the issue has been being more clear. Hunger is cheap. Do you know what I mean? When someone is starving, they will take anything. Stop. You have to stop being so hungry by feeding yourself. You have to feed yourself first. You have to feed what it is that you need, and stop looking for any type of outward or external validation. Even I think, this is like, your shine is so bright that it will threaten people that already feel small. Do you know what I mean? I think you are someone that when you go places, you unintentionally trigger people because you are just so knowledgeable, because people just kind of naturally gravitate towards you. And I don't think maybe you were even necessarily aware of that, because that's not your intention, and you don't really look to have like a large crowd. But people, when you speak and when you enter a room, there is a commanding presence about you that, again, will inspire those who are able to receive that light and recognize that light, and it will threaten those who, feel intimidated by it or have been suppressing their own, that kind of a thing, right? Your greatest hopes and fears, I see that expressing yourself is like a terrifying thing. I'm seeing there is some fear around deception. There's fear around, I'm getting like authentic expression. I think, again, this is more about impulse control. When your emotions get really riled up, like, you are kind of scared of who you become if you let that beast be unleashed. Because I see that you have a very sharp tongue. And I'm seeing that there are things where it's like you're discovering more and more as you progress in whatever this situation is, that there has been deception along the way. um and I'm getting more like things that were intentionally, and like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember the word, but things that were left out, you know what I mean? Like someone telling half truths, or maybe representing uh some a situation a certain way that was not accurate, you know what I mean? Using like language that they knew would put a certain idea in your mind. But I'm even getting like maybe some kind of double talk where there's like some kind of plausible deniability of like, well, what I did say this, it's not my fault that you took it that way. And it's like, you intended for me to take it that way. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting. Your greatest hope, that again, it is being asked of you to like call deception out when you see it. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting the vibe of like, it's one of those like, evil is able to kind of thrive when like good people say nothing or do nothing, that kind of like vibe. And I'm not saying you have to go like correct the entire world, but like, you're fine to let people know that you are not to be trifled with. Do you know what I mean? And you can put up, and that doesn't mean you have to like go fight somebody. That means that you put up very clear boundaries, and you're not, letting someone have more access to you than is healthy or than they deserve. The outcome of this reading, which is why I really, really honestly actually like this reading, is that after all of this, once you embody that higher vision of yourself that you have, it literally clears the way for this, what it is in the past that you were wanting to create, that you feel like was kind of stifled by the situation. The magician is talking about like your freedom to create and express in the way that you choose, in the way that works for you, in an environment that is healthy for you. There's equal exchange here, and there's an opportunity for more emotional fulfillment. This is like, if it's a relationship that you are, wanting, this is like, now you have more energy and a greater capacity to like engage with someone, because your energy isn't being taken up by this stuff that's really dragging you down. um this is about being in community with people that have something to give and aren't just wanting to take, or don't just take, you know what I mean? It's not exhausting being around them every time. It's like you find people that recharge you, that are there to help you create. And whatever it is that this is, I mean, it's the kind of synchronicities thrown shown throughout this reading is like, it feels like a move toward just a more fully realized and like actualized person, someone who has the strength and the passion. Like, this is like, I don't know if you've been feeling necessarily like, I don't think you've been feeling very passionate at all, or like moved to do things. Like I said earlier, this feels like for a long time you've been on autopilot, but it's like having that zest for life again, to like go out and do things. I feel like you've been a very like muted version of yourself, where you don't do the things that you enjoy doing anymore. Maybe you don't talk to like, maybe your friends are like, where the heck have you been? Or when you're in their presence, they're like, is everything okay? You know what I mean? It's that kind of vibe where you're depleted right now. And it's because you've been allowing a kind of draining to happen, and kind of hoping that like eventually it stops. But if you want it to stop, action needs to be taken, right? And this whole situation is bringing you to that. So I hope that you have patience and that you're kind with yourself and you give yourself grace. Remember who you are and remember who you want to be. Okay? Do not allow other people to push you to act outside of yourself in any way. Okay? Let's pull an oracle and then I will let you go. I appreciate you guys being here. If you were here for the new astrological year reads where I went through these zodiacs, I'm going to do some bonus readings for the top 3 signs. Woo. The 3 signs that had the most views on those videos, which I believe as of right now would be Aquarius, Scorpio, and I think Sagittarius. It's either Sagittarius or Taurus. They were pretty close. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe dropping those this weekend for you guys. But I wanted to just a little thank you for those. Okay. We have number 4, practice curiosity. It is a picture of a little red fox with a crown on his head. Let's see what it has to say. Number 4, practice curiosity. In painful times, in happy times, in sad, confusing, and lonely times, choose curiosity over judgment. When you judge a situation, you shrink to fit the proportions of criticism. When you remain curious about what's happening and why, what the motives are and what the hidden factors may be, you open a space for peace and possibility. Judgment is a prison. Curiosity is an adventure. Now is the time to choose the attitude that will create the most freedom and space for you to move forward. And I think that is perfect for this reading. That's all I have for you guys. I hope that it helped. I appreciate you for being here. You know the deal. I appreciate all the likes and comments. I really do love hearing from you guys, and it helps me out a ton. If you want to subscribe to know when another reading will be posted, definitely do that. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.